Welcome, beloved hearts, into the loving embrace of the divine. I would like to invite you to bring your awareness to your heart, where we can truly connect as one. I am Katrina Armstrong, and I stand before you today as a testament to the power of the divine. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, all of which has birthed the alchemical movement that is Divinity in Action, that I am ecstatic to share with you here. Allow us to guide you through the wisdom of our esteemed leaders and uncover the secrets of the universe to unlock your true potential, as I had done in my life when I embraced the Christ consciousness and ascended into higher expressions of my soul potential. I'll share with you the teachings and wisdom that have helped me to transcend from my earthly bounds and realize the true expression of my soul. I'll be joined by some of the most compassionate and authentic spiritual leaders worldwide who also experience divinity in action. Allow us to share our insights and experiences. I invite you to join me on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Together we'll break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embrace our true selves. Join me in welcoming Waxéla Sananda. Oh, she is a galactic shaman, an embodied ascension trainer, conscious life mentor, activator of spiritual gifts, and best-selling author of The Love You Crave, A Course in Ascension, Alchemy, and Connection to the Divine. She is also a host of the Alchemy of Ascension Summit and podcast. Combining celestial starseed consciousness and shamanism, Waxéla holds space for humanity to experience the embodiment of divine frequencies. She is a conscious light channel, assisting in the activation of spiritual gifts and soul codes within her soul family. She has been a lifelong extra-dimensional contactee and holds memories from multiple Earth and star race incarnations. Her mission is to assist and support ascension of Earth and humanity. Oh, and today Waxéla will be speaking with us about ascending consciousness. Wow, what an honor it is to be here with you. I am feeling so much grace, so much beauty, and so many frequencies that are already coming in for our time together. Waxéla, I'm just acknowledging right now who it is that you are, as an embodiment of these frequencies and what you bring into the Divinity in Action space for all of us. So I look forward to being here together to speak about ascending consciousness and to allow for all of the transmissions, all of the messages, just inviting everyone listening to really anchor in right now, to allow yourself to fully be present here, to receive all that is already here, and we'll be expanding. I can feel an expansion in your presence. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to say thank you, Katrina, for, first of all, for hosting this amazing show and series and for holding the space that you hold, such a divine, beautiful container of connection and heart-centered frequency. And I can feel that emanating from you, every time I interact with you. So I'm really grateful for what you provide and hold space for here and in the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Woo! How beautiful it is to witness how we're being called together right now, being called out and called together. And I know so much can arise within us when we are being called forward. I'm wondering, when did that happen for you? What is it that occurred in your life that really called you forward?
Wow. I mean, there are so many, I can say like going all the way back to my early childhood, I was a visitee of well, if you want to call them super consciousness or sometimes extraterrestrial type of consciousness, ultra dimensionals is what I like to say, because that kind of includes a lot of different expressions of being. And, I realized that that's when I was getting called out, but I didn't understand what was going on. So I really tended to hide from it. And then fast forward, way forward, I can't say that there was a specific moment, but there was just this awareness of there's more than everybody else seems to be aware of. I was raised in rural Iowa, and maybe that's enough said. There wasn't a lot of this type of spirituality being shared. And so I didn't have, I was raised in the church, didn't have anyone really to talk about my experiences with. So yet there was this knowing, like there's more, and I experience more that people just don't seem to be aware of or talking about. So as I stepped onto my path, it was probably, when it really happened for me is when I went to Mexico as a foreign exchange student. It was the year after I graduated high school. I was 17, went to Merida in the Yucatan Peninsula, and I got to go to the Mayan ruins, Uxmal and Chichen Itza, and all of the wonderful Mayan ruins in that area. And I started feeling things and experiencing things and remembering things like, what is going on? How can I remember this? And this happened so long ago, but I was remembering, past experiences there. And that really started me on a path of focus on, okay, I got to open up to what this is. There's no more holding it back. And so that kind of escalated my journey. Then I get into Edgar Cayce and discovered metaphysical books, and the rest was history.
Wow. I know there are so many that coming out of a religion, Christianity or any other religion, and touching metaphysics, it's like, whoa, what is this? And how it's given, some sort of context for these experiences. I can imagine for you that it would give you quite a context or something to be like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that is having these kinds of experiences. But I want to come back to the time, with the Mayan ruins and those moments of that rich history. And there's something in that. There's something in the rich history. I know when I travel and connect, and I know so many that are listening may be called to these locations or these places on the earth, or here we're in the US, so here in the US as well. And what is it about those ancient places or those places that hold those memories? What is it that it does to us in your experience of that?
Oh, I love that question. It's soul codes. We have dropped soul codes for ourselves all over this planet. And when we're divinely led somewhere, divinely called somewhere, it's not by accident. And when we go there, it's a soul retrieval, a retrieval of memories, a retrieval of encodements that are activating and that will have us, when we receive them, we can't help but expand into it. And, at that young age of 17, when I was called there, I had no idea. I didn't get to choose where I was going. I just signed up to be in a foreign exchange student program, and that's where they sent me. And yet when I went and walked into those amazing ruins, I was like, oh, wow, I feel something different than I've ever felt before. And I got to spend a lot of time in those places, and I couldn't get enough of it. I just soaked it up and soaked it up. And I know now in retrospect, I was receiving downloads and getting activated, receiving the soul codes that a larger part of myself, my connection to the divine, had put there so that I could wake up at that very time of my life and step into a more conscious experience of my spirituality, and not just going to the church that I'd been raised in and kind of regurgitating the things that I'd been taught there, but really starting to have an active interaction, awareness, and consciousness of who I am and what I'm here for and what this soul mission is all about. And then ultimately how to share that.
Yeah, I'm feeling this, like when you speak about the church, it almost feels like something being put on you. And when you find yourself in this moment of, oh, this is where I ended up. And so it gives me this like strong feeling of this design of
Yeah.
it all. And how, when we're in listening, from what you're telling me, when we're in listening of that, well, I'm going to go, I'm going to show up in Mexico. And then to be able to receive these downloads, to receive these codes, and to be in that place of like, wow. And I'm getting this sense that it felt more authentic, maybe, or it felt more like, oh, this feels good. This feels like something I know.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
true.
absolutely. And, not to knock religion, I was raised Lutheran. It did give me a great spiritual foundation and, sort of like a launching pad, but I always felt like there was more. And I remember, I went through confirmation. You have that in 8th grade, you get confirmed. And I talked to the pastor, who's actually very open-minded, a really great guy. And I had some questions for him that he couldn't answer. And he said, I don't have the answers to your questions, but I can tell you that there's a verse in the Bible that says, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Seek and ye shall find. And I still get chills when I think about it. I had a plaque. I put that as a poster on my wall for a long time on my altar because that gave me permission. And I was rebellious, so I didn't really need permission. I was going to do it anyway, but it literally opened the door. It was like he was saying, just go seek, go ask, go find your truth, open those doors for yourself, and you will find the meaning that you're looking for. And that's exactly what I did. I was like out the gate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. What a powerful message. What a powerful message to be delivering right now, because there's such a strong call when we look at the consciousness on the planet and what's happening right now. And so many that are being called to put things into action, maybe that have been holding them, or maybe that have had the similar experiences where they've showed up in a place and these things start happening to them. And then they've just been holding. Like, oh, I'm not so sure. How do I come forward with this? So I'm curious, when you experience, and I imagine that you've experienced so many more downloads and working with soul codes in the way that you do, I'm curious how it is that we embody those, how it is that we trust that.
This is my favorite thing to talk about. Yeah, because, when we go into any kind of new experience or new place, it's really easy to walk through in sort of a third dimensional way and sort of bypass the real essence of what is there for us. And so there's a way to enter into any experience with greater consciousness, with the intention to receive the codes and the downloads. And so it's not difficult at all. It's very simple. It's really becoming aware. First of all, just bringing the consciousness to, okay, I'm in a place and I'm feeling something, and to take the time to breathe and get present and get centered, and then intentionally, and of course, we're not always in a place where we can sit down and meditate, but we can always take a few breaths, right? And then maybe when we have a clearing, a space, then go deeper. But to sit down and go into contemplation, meditation with the intention to know and to receive, we have the ability, we can open up to information that's beyond our present knowing in any moment. And these sacred spaces that we go into, we don't even have to physically go there. You could tune into Machu Picchu right now and receive soul codes from that place. So if there's a place that anyone watching has been called to go, but maybe for some reason you haven't been able to get there, whether it's financially or just your life circumstances, you can sit down and tune into that energy and start to receive the encodements that are there for you without even physically going. Because our physical bodies are, they're physical, but we are consciousness. Our consciousness is never bound to this body. So we can expand out and go get those codes in our, with our intention, with our heart, and bring them into the heart through the, through the crown, through the base of the spine, up through the earth and through the central sun, which I always love to take people into central sun, the center of the earth, and then bring that together in your heart. And then feel, and this is, I think, is really a key factor, feel the frequency of that encodement in your body. If you can think of a place, let's say that you've never been, that you've heard of. I said Machu Picchu earlier, so let's just go with Machu Picchu. I'm sure a lot of people have been there, but many haven't. But we've seen pictures of it, right? So you can imagine yourself on top of that mountain, sitting in these beautiful ruins. And you can, like, even on top of the pyramid, and feel yourself dropping in to that space, dropping in to the center of that pyramid and being met by the divine beings that hold that space, and then just opening up. What is it that is here for me? What is the soul encodement? What soul fragments am I here to receive and retrieve? And what parts of my divine knowing exist here for me to embody now? And then just breathe that into the body through the heart and allow yourself to interact with the energies and the beings and the life that is there for you. Because as a higher consciousness that we all are, we can go anywhere, this planet or off planet, and we can bring back and embody and hold that energy, that frequency. And your mind might not know right away what it is that you're downloading, but if you can go into your heart and feel it and feel the sensations and feel, it might bring up emotions. I know I get very emotional when I go certain places in my meditations, even whether it's physical or meditation, and start to receive. I sometimes just start to cry, not from sadness, but just from like this feeling of, oh, wow, there's so much here. Yeah, I'm receiving it. And I think too, that receiving piece is so important, to know that we are worthy to receive, that we have permission to receive, that we just get to allow ourselves to go into that receptive space, to open up and say, yes, I receive this, whatever's here for my highest good, and let it come in and let it flow and let ourselves absorb it, and then allow that frequency to just reverberate through the physical body, through the emotions. Let yourself cry if you need to, through the energetic body, and just feel the presence around you as if you are inside of it. And it's amazing. That's how we embody. And then we might not be able to hold that frequency. Sometimes it's a practice. So we could practice going back into that space. If we fall out, which, that's life, we're going to have our moments of high vibration or high frequency. And then those moments that are very 3D and we kind of, get off center. That's okay. We can come back anytime and remember, it's important to memorize those frequency feelings, and then you can bring them back and call them back.
Well, I felt, as you were sharing this with us, just really being brought into that. And my body was tingling. I was feeling all the sensations in my body. And you were speaking about tears and these feelings. And when I tune into, emotions, and that arising when we connect into these places, when we start to have these kind of remembrances, when we look at emotions and things that are stored in the body, how do we work with that when those arise, as we're accessing and we're feeling this? And of course, we always want to be with the thing that feels good.
Yeah.
How do we be with that which, may arise that doesn't feel as good?
Oh gosh, beautiful, beautiful question. Thank you for that. And I think this serves everybody because we're emotional beings. And wow, I've had a lot of practice in this, and I'm sure many of us have. I was a very sensitive child, and I'm sure lots of your audience is empathic. And life feels like too much, overwhelming, inundating. I loved to be alone. I still love to be alone. I love to be with people too, but it's easier, right? So we put these like walls up we put these boundaries. I know I got really good at boundaries. Having been visited by extra dimensionals my whole life, I was like, no, like there was just like, absolutely not. There were certain, experiences I didn't want to have. So I got really good at boundaries, which in some ways is a huge gift to me now. But for me, it's been an extraction of those boundaries. As I've become more aware and stepped into this work more, I've realized, okay, letting go, it's safe to feel. It's safe to feel even the bad stuff. It's safe to feel, and it's not really bad. It's just information. And so when that stuff starts to come up now, didn't happen immediately. This was a process to get there, of a process of allowing. And so now when an emotion starts to come up, granted, I'm not always in the right place for it. If I'm working or, like doing something really important, I can't take a break. Those times happen. But as soon as I can, and especially with these persistent emotions, when that comes up, it's a gift. First of all, I acknowledge it without judgment. This is a gift. This feeling, like we'll just say the grief, the day that we had previously scheduled for this, and I had this massive amount of grief come up. I was like, wow, this doesn't feel like something I want to be feeling right now. All the more reason to be with it. And so really just to honor that every emotion, even when it's painful, even when it's rageful, anger, that's a big one to allow ourselves to feel. When it's sadness, when it's grief, when it's whatever those emotions are, especially if we've been pushing them away, they need acknowledgement, just like a little child, like we'd say our inner child saying, look at me, or I need you, or, the sadness, I'm crying, I need help, I need to be seen, I need to be felt, I need to be heard, I need to be witnessed. So the best thing we can do for ourselves is just go in and be with ourselves and our emotion and let it come out, let it flow, let it purge, if it's rage, let it come out. I mean, I've been through these experiences of rage that I had one come up just last week that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was in me. Like I got really enraged about something that I would just say now, a much, much larger reaction to something that happened than was necessary. And fortunately, it was a texting conversation that inspired it. So I didn't respond with rage. I took time out to really be with it. But you know what I did? I went and honored that rage, and I did cord cutting, and I did, I yelled and screamed in my own space by myself. Mind you, not on other, it wasn't getting it on other people, but I just let it go and let myself feel that rage and let myself be angry, really, really, really angry. And man, I was just like, wow, that was so powerful. Wow. And then, what happened when I was done? I laughed and laughed. I'm like, that was so funny. Like after the fact, it wasn't funny when it was happening, but after the fact, first of all, I felt so relieved to have it out, to like, oh wow, I don't know how long that's been there, but boy, that sure needed to come out, like to get it out. And then I just was laughing. I'm like, what a crazy reaction I just had to something. Where someone's just doing their thing and they feel justified in it, and I'm having a different reaction to it. That's like, it was ridiculous in some ways, but yet it was what needed to happen. So that was an example of how you can deal with intense emotions, and they might be triggered by somebody, or an interaction you have with it. Quite often they are an interaction you have with someone else, but it's really important to just be with that in your own space and not take it out on somebody else. Cause you can do some damage if you're going to take it out on other people. And those other people, then I was like grateful for that other person for being up in me. I'm like, oh wow, that person really served a great purpose in my life right there. And I'm grateful that I got that out and got to experience that. And I wasn't even aware that was there previously. So I got to purge something that needed to go. So this is an example, like to really, really deeply be with what shows up. It could show up at any time and any place. We're not always going to be in a place where it's appropriate to do that. Obviously, that's something to be done in your own space, but to absolutely do it. Or maybe I used to do kickboxing. Like I love to go to kickboxing class, cardio kickboxing. And so I was just kicking a bag or, whatever. I wasn't ever kicking a person, but just take out whatever came up, whatever upset. And I was a young mom at the time. And man, I was a young single mom. And a lot of stuff is difficult when you're a young single mom, didn't have a lot of money, just, trying to get by with this kid. And I had some rage come up and I would go to kickboxing. I would just get that all out, just get it out. And then I could be present with my child. So finding ways to let go of whether it's sadness, anger, grief, whatever that is that comes up, honor it. It's there for a reason and it's ready to be seen and acknowledged. Just honor it and let it come. Let it come out. Cry, yell, scream, whatever needs to happen. Feel it. Feel it, because our bodies store these emotions. And if we don't get them out, they get denser and denser and denser and heavier. And then if we keep suppressing and keeping them in and not letting them out, that's where physical ailments and disease starts from. It starts out here, we let it get to us. And if we're not emoting, when we're really masterful at this, for instance, I'm in traffic a lot and I do sometimes get upset in traffic still. And I just let myself get it out, and I'll just by myself, especially if I'm in my car by myself, I just yell, scream, whatever, and then laugh because, okay, that's done, and even to amplify those feelings, sometimes let yourself really expand in them and be obnoxious about it. Feel it more. Let it come up just to get it out of your space. It feels so good afterward. And even if it doesn't feel good, it feels like when it's gone, it's gone. You can feel that it's not suppressing you anymore because those emotions can be really constricting and they make our hearts close and they make our, even just think of being upset. We contract, we go in and look at even the body language, our shoulders, everything goes in. And then when we let it go, I can breathe, we expand, the breath expands, we open up our hearts open and we can be present again. So, just to have that practice of continually allowing yourself to feel what comes up and let it go.
Absolutely. And I know sometimes when you are spiritual or you're someone that's holding a lot of space for people, you can pull that back. You can hold that back oh, how am I going to look? Or what is this going to be like if I haven't mastered that yet? So there is a little bit of that. You touched on it earlier about worth. Oh, if I have these, am I really where I am? Am I really in mastery? And so I appreciate that. And that opportunity, as you were speaking, just to feel, and I could feel things rising in our space, rising within those that are listening. And I just want to come to the emotions and the power of them. And my understanding is we're in agreement with them. We're in this agreement with our emotions. So why would we push against them? Why would we fight them? I see them as constructs, as a way for us to engage. And I find, and I would love to know from you, that they're so important when we look at activating codes, when we look at, activating frequencies or being able to hold higher light in our bodies, to be able to hold that higher consciousness. And in that journey, I'm curious from you, when you work with activating others, the frequencies and the codes and working into the density in the bodies, the connection that you find between them.
Yeah. Well, you're saying the connection between the emotions and the codes, the activations. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I love that you said we're in agreement with the emotions. I literally, a couple weeks ago, I had one of those outbursts. Something came up. I got triggered. Something came up. I was letting myself marinate in it. And I got home. It was probably a traffic incident. There's a lot of that where I live. And I got home and I was still feeling agitated. I was still feeling agitated by it. And I looked at myself, internally. I'm like, look at that. I'm hanging on to that agitation. I'm just kind of enjoying being agitated right now. Some part of me is getting a payoff from this agitation, not making myself wrong for it. Just noticing, look at that. Look at me being agitated. Okay. I can be agitated. There's this thing about we don't want to let ourselves feel what we're feeling. But when we do, when we just let ourselves feel what comes up and be present with it, it's just this authenticity that happens. And I love that you presence too, as, quote unquote, spiritual people.
Yeah.
We don't always feel like we have permission to be authentic, but that is not what a spiritual person really is. Because to me, spirituality is becoming more and more and more authentic, and really, really getting present to, I am a spiritual being in a human body. I'm having a human experience, so I'm going to be fully human. And being fully human comes with a whole range of stuff that isn't always like super high. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't, like my humanness has all kinds of, stuff going on that most people probably wouldn't see as spiritual, but it is, because it's authentically what's going on. And when we get to, we get to honor it. I'm thinking of Orion Mountain Dreamer's poem, beautiful poem about, being present with whatever. Can you be with my pain, and can you be with your own and not try and move it? Is, I'm paraphrasing, but that's some of the content. It's all like, can you really be authentically be present with what shows up and not try and change and not make wrong, not judge, and just be present with what is and allow. And when you can do that, it's like there is space not only for the humanness, but for the higher realm as well. And this comes to trust. When we trust our human experience, being spiritual and being embodied, especially, it's not about getting out here, getting, out of body. I mean, that's what we can do that in meditation, but to really be able to bring it in, we've got to have a great relationship with our bodies and trust our bodies here to serve us. It's a beautiful servant of the divinity that I am. And therefore I revere it. I love it. I care for it. I embrace it. I let it be the way that it needs to be. I let it authentically express itself. I let the emotions move through it, energy and motion moving through the body, moving through the field. And then as I become more authentic in who I am and trust myself and honor, okay, I'm having this experience. I'm going to let myself have it. And I'm going to have to cancel this other thing so that I could be present with this here now. And that develops trust. And that gives permission to expand. It gives permission to hold the higher frequencies, because it's whenever we expand our consciousness, expand our frequency, raise our frequency, there is more responsibility there. We're responsible then for the energy. We're always responsible for the amount of energy that we are holding. If you want to hold great, expanded, enlightened energy, you must be very, very responsible with that energy and be in tune and authentic with your body and trust yourself. And so the way to receive the codes is to, first of all, being authentic, everything that we've just been talking about, allowing, trusting, loving yourself, and embracing all that you are. The things, that you might judge are equally valuable as the things that you love about yourself. And can you bring that into non-judgment and self-love and just keeping that practice going? I love my rage. I love my sadness. I love my grief when it comes up. And I'm grateful when it passes and I can breathe again. I even love it when I get all contracted, because then I can have the experience of expansion again. And when I accept that about myself and others, I'm able to be more responsible for that energy. Therefore, it's like the universe, God, the divine, trusts us with more energy when we trust ourselves naturally, because the outside reflects the inside. When we allow ourselves to be in trust with ourselves and our bodies and our emotions, then the divine will be able to expand within us, because we've let that stuff move and we've let it out and we've come to terms with it. So we allow. And this is how the receiving happens. It's not effortful. It's very natural in my experience. It's in ease. It's in flow. It is the divine order of things. And it's the allowing. We simply just allow ourselves. It's already who we are. The greater part of ourselves is not in this body, but it is in this body, but it's attached to everything outside this body as well. So as we just go into more and more trust and be responsible for who we are in the world, we're going to receive more of ourselves because we're trustworthy and we can hold it and we can attune to it. And it's for some people, they get it, boom, as like a huge Kundalini awakening or an activation or a near-death experience. They get it all at once. And there's this integration period, sometimes for many years that happens. But for many people, the people that don't have that, it's an incremental moment by moment, day by day awakening to more awareness, more consciousness, and allowing that activation and more trust, just teeny tiny baby steps in mindfulness and in your intentionality really is all that's really necessary. And it's easy when you do it that way.
Wow. I'm just really feeling this, through your share, being brought into our authentic self, right into the center, and that strengthening there that we can do so we can experience all of these emotions and be able to feel the connection between the emotions and what is coming in. What is coming in for me right now? I know through this ascension process, people talk a lot about, having different types of symptoms and things that start to happen to them as their body, what I would say is waking up. Maybe they haven't been in touch with these different emotions that have been stored for so long and gratefully haven't manifested as illnesses, or maybe they have, and the opportunity they have to speak to that again, to release that, to open up that space. And what I'm also hearing is this agreement we have with the body, this dance that we're doing with it, and the beauty of that dance, and how the body can only open and receive and be able to anchor, our ascending the consciousness, the higher consciousness of us. And I really love how you were speaking about accountability, how important it is that we know how to work with this and we can hold it and we're responsible with it, in order to what you didn't say create, but when you spoke about how this allows the universe to respond back to us, I immediately, because I'm all about creation, went right into this feeling of, wow, when we're there, that's when all these things that we desire start to show up. That's when we're able to really receive them, is what I was hearing from you. And I know on this path and these connections, and we look at codes, and there's so much, we may call it the new age or the metaphysical that speaks about these things, but a lot of times not honoring, the connection into the body and these emotions, and how that's what I see as key, to being able, we speak about polarity, we speak about, opposites of things. And sometimes I can see, when we look at certain frequencies or codes and how they connect into the body, how they're a match for each other. And in order to really neutralize them, in order to bring that possibility, that gift, right? To light up that gift or to access that code to truly create here, you're who you are, who you authentically are, that they have to be met. They both have to be acknowledged. And it seems easy, right, for us to acknowledge the codes or to acknowledge this gift, or that remembrance. I know that you work with extraterrestrials, and I could imagine that you could see that in people, where their connections are. And wow, the gift of that, to be able to access what you have there. And what I'm hearing from you is wow, you really can't actualize that. You might be able to touch it in meditation, but you can't really feel it or live it or breathe it without truly allowing yourself to feel. So powerful, and definitely my experience as well. It's not always the most comfortable.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be comfortable all the time. And, I think so much of this is about giving ourselves permission to be what we are, who we are, where we are, to be authentic. It's like everything that we're raised with sort of takes us out, out of our authenticity in our families, in our, our religious upbringings, our schools, sit still, don't talk, don't even go to the bathroom when you need to. And we are taken out of our honoring of who am I? What do I truly need? And, it's like a training in authenticity that we get as children, like even you're being too loud or all these messages we get. We learn to suppress ourselves and suppress ourselves and suppress ourselves. So yeah, but to realize, like, I love that you mentioned the manifestation piece too, because we are creating all the time. And the outside world is reflecting the inside world. You want something to change in the outside world, the work is here. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times myself and working with clients as well, when there's that shift of consciousness, that shift of awareness, that, and that dropping in and like, oh, okay. I get to be present with this that's here and not strive for something out there outside of myself. Then it shows up, right? Because the resistance has cleared, because we've gotten present. And I think, the outside world is this beautiful gift. The good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful. All of it is a gift because it's showing us what's going on. What am I creating? What do I get to let go of? What do I get to embrace? What do I feel like is out of balance? If it's happening out here, there's a place in here that can be restructured, realigned, witnessed, acknowledged, and shifted if necessary. Then the outside world reflects that back. And we can't say one thing and expect a different thing on the outside. We can't rehearse something in our mind and our words and say, for instance, if somebody's speaking into, I don't have enough of whatever, but I want this and I need more of this to get that, it's not really true. It's when you shift in here, I am enough. I always have enough. I'm always provided for, and nothing out here is my source. My source is here. Yes. My source is with me. I'm connected to my source and nothing outside of myself, not my job, not my ex-husband, not my, whatever. None of that is my source. My source is from within and, connection to the divine. And when I work with that and shift that and know, okay, I'm always supported. I am always abundant. I am always taken care of. I am so prosperous. Then boom, the outside world shows evidence of that.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. I'm just being taken back to the earth and the codes and the things we store in the earth that, spark us and light us up. And as you're speaking, you're really taking me into this place of, I share often that the codes are in the experience, right? And being able to acknowledge what's happening within you, to access what it is you need to create as your authentic self. And I love that you brought us into, being a child and what happens there. A lot of my journey with people is going through that, moving through the child to return back to that authenticity, to open up, to be able to really use those codes. So it's a powerful journey we're all on. And I really appreciate you bringing it back into like, oh, it's all here within us. I see this outside world as we've already created this. This is everything we've already created. So we're not going to find anything in this, right? We may find like little sparks or something that, initiates us or brings us anger or brings us fear, or it's like, oh, what is this? What is it that I'm reclaiming here? What am I getting to feel? What am I getting to see? And which is a natural, as a child, we're curious. What is this life bringing us? What is happening right now? Whoa, I'm experiencing something in my body right now. Wow. Whoa, I want to yell at you. Like, I actually want to yell. So it's really neat to feel that, to feel this, what I'm experiencing as this opportunity to return back to that. And I feel like that's a great place to, as we look at divinity in action, when we look at putting our divinity into action there, coming from authenticity, coming from this knowing and taking action on that knowing that will give us those experiences with places on the earth or, happening into situations or people that just so happen to be maybe holding remembrance that sparks you, this play and this joy of life that once again all comes from within. So I love this journey we've been on here today and how ascending consciousness is happening from within us. That it's not something we have to reach for or something that we have to search for outside, but to just be present with what is happening in me right now. what is it that I'm feeling? It's so simple, right? In that sense, it's so simple.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling this place of so much richness and so much that you've shared here to integrate, to be with, to look at ourselves. You spoke about accountability, whoa. Without accountability, without being responsible, we can't really receive more. There's no space for it. There's no opportunity for the universe to meet us there. So I'm really feeling that as we come out of this space. I would love for you to share any last thoughts here, anything that is coming through for those that are listening here that are being called to put their divinity into action.
Yes. What's really in my heart to share is that you are already the person that you desire to be. The way that you want to expand is already who you are. And those things that you strive for are already yours. It is all possible, all of it. And there is nothing that you are not capable of. And, it's really just getting into trust and receiving, being open and being willing to be present. It's all here already, and you are worthy. You are so, so worthy. And, we at the highest level, the very highest level, we are all one being having the experience of being all of these different beings and all of these different bodies and all of these different things happening. We are all that consciousness experiencing itself. So what do we want the most is to have the most experience. So live, just live your life and do the thing that you haven't been letting yourself do, and love yourself like you've never loved yourself before, and just keep expanding that, and you will love and you will open and you will receive, and it's already who you are.
Ooh, just taking that in. What a beautiful, rich, fulfilling message. Thank you, thank you, thank you for you, all of you, for everyone here. It's been such an honor and a privilege and truly a sensation of joy, just massive amount of joy to be here with you today. And may all of this translate in the most supportive and enriching ways for everyone listening here today.
Thank you so much, Katrina. And thanks to all who are tuning in. I appreciate you.
Oh, beautiful hearts, let's take a moment here to breathe into yet another powerful message from our Divinity in Action alchemical movement. I hope you found the teaching shared in this episode to be enlightening and empowering. Also, that you will take space for yourself to work with what was offered for your discovery and growth. Once again, I invite you to unlock your divinity through the wisdom of our speakers and to harness this beautiful energy to your benefit that will increase abundance, clarity, and freedom in every aspect of your life. By experiencing divinity in action, we will break free from past programming and conditioning and fully embody our true selves.